Yeah.
there.
Your necklace is cool too.
It's a vibrator, actually.
No way. It is? Oh my God, stop it.
Yeah.
At first it looks like this thing that my friend keeps her like mushrooms
Right,
in.
that's what I was gonna say. People are like, is that a vape? Is it like a flask? Right.
What's in there?
Do my microdose.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, you never know. Oh my God, that's so funny. Well, I'm so excited to have you here today. This is going to be so much fun. So Dr. Jenn, you're a TEDx speaker, you're a sociologist, and just someone who really gets the core of communication, how important it is in any relationship, intimate, friendship, a partnership, all of it. So I guess let's just start with your background and how you got to be a sexologist and sociologist and all these cool things.
Yeah. So I grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So I'm from the East Coast, even though I've lived in San Diego now for 21 years. I was raised Catholic. It was a small town we were in, like very loving family, but we didn't talk about sexual topics or anything like that. And it was when I went off to college. And my sophomore year, my roommate became a sexual health peer educator, where you go around to the dorms and do condom demonstrations and safer sex talks. And I was like, well, first of all, that just sounds like fun because you get to talk about the naughtiest topic there is. But I wanted public speaking skills because I was so afraid, at the end of each semester in different classes, you'd have to give oral presentations with a group in front of the room. And I would just wouldn't sleep the night before. And so I figured, I was like, well, they're going to teach us public speaking skills. If you can get up and talk about sex, you could probably talk about anything. And that was 32 years ago at this point. I just never stopped talking about sex and intimacy and communication. And I think at such a young age, I was learning what clarity of communication is around our most uncomfortable, vulnerable topics.
Right. And so at the core of it, why do you think that we are so uncomfortable talking about it? I mean, I find even in my girlfriend groups, it's like rarely something that we get into.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can tell people are yearning to know how many times a week people are having sex, so they can compare. But why do you think at our core we're afraid of the topic and it seems so like hush hush?
And I think because we're growing up in this society where overall it's still taboo and shameful to talk about topics like this. So fundamentally, we're afraid of being judged.
Right.
We're afraid of being judged, ridiculed, shamed, embarrassed for talking about what you're not supposed to talk about, or that maybe there's something, weird or different in what we do or what we like, and people are going to judge us for that. So fundamentally, it is fear. It's fear and anxiety, and we carry it in our chests and in our solar plexus, and it kind of, it makes us want to bury our heads in the sand or avoid these topics, even though they're so important.
So important.
And then we don't have skills in it. So because I know some folks, they're like, this is important. I need to talk about it. This matters to me. It matters in my marriage. And I literally don't know where to start, or I'm afraid of starting a fight, or I'm afraid of making my husband or partner feel like they're going to be judged or shamed because I'm not going to do it right. And I don't even know how to start or where to do this.
Right. So for someone that wants to start that conversation with a partner about intimacy, somebody that's feeling like it's off, they may not sure what it is, but it's off, how would you suggest broaching the topic?
Yeah. And the first thing I say is we have to get clear on what is it that we want, or what is it that's not working for us.
Right.
And so I always tell folks, first of all, we need to start with ourselves, knowing ourselves, our own emotions, our own beliefs, our own patterns, and doing mindfulness work and reflection work around that. And grab a piece of paper, start writing stuff down, grab a journal, because that is that stream of consciousness is how you can really, after 10 minutes of doing that, it's often uncomfortable, but that's good. That means you're digging deep and you're getting to the right place. And then you could be like, oh, this is about me not feeling good enough, or this is about me not feeling important. Oh, and this reminds me of when I was 8 years old with my dad, or something like that. So you can get to the core of why this bothers you, what's upsetting, where the distance is, or where your needs aren't getting met.
Completely.
So starting in that place.
And figuring out what it is exactly that you want before having the conversation.
And that is so, and when we're young too, and we haven't experienced much, sometimes you could be like, okay, I don't like this, or this doesn't feel right to me, but I'm not even sure what it could be or what that would look like.
Completely. So, I mean, I had that situation, in my first relationship ever, the man I lost my virginity to, and I'm I'm so sorry. I'm going to blow up his spot right now. But
I love it.
I never had an orgasm with him once. Okay. I lost my virginity to him, never had an orgasm, and always thought that sex was just like this nice, meaningful thing where we could connect in a physical way, but I never felt anything.
And more for his pleasure than your pleasure.
Yeah, but honestly, I didn't even know if I was missing something.
Right.
Like I didn't even know if I had an orgasm or not, which is so crazy. So it's just so interesting here in America, and I wonder how it is in other countries, but like, how do you say we approach sexual health in this country, and what would you suggest we do differently?
I mean, one thing is that there's still big pockets of the U.S. that believe if you talk about these topics, you're making kids have more sex at younger age. Research continually shows that is not true, because what we're doing is, I mean, to me, like a good analogy is like, would you send a teenager in a car without teaching them how to drive the car?
Right.
Like, there's skills
such common
to
sense
be learned. Exactly.
Yeah,
And and there's so much skills around, again, knowing yourself. I think one of the things that would be most valuable if we could be taught it as teenagers is, first of all, this mindfulness around our emotions. And also realizing what is it you're really looking for in this connection with someone else? Are you actually taking something from them? Are you sharing something with them? Is it giving a boost to your self-esteem? Is it just scratching an itch? Are you just curious? And how do we actually have those open conversations with others that is truly honoring the other human being in front of us? That's not just somebody to get something from, but somebody to share a vulnerable experience with.
Completely.
So I think there's so much complexity and nuance around our emotions, our needs, our sexual desires, our drive, how we're turned on, how we're not, gender role socialization, what that means to us and our identities, that I just wish we had greater complexity around that, from a young age, and ongoing conversations.
And more education in schools. Like, do you think it should be the school's responsibility to teach
I mean, I would love that it's both in the schools and it's in the home.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I wish parents would, because sometimes they're like, well, we don't talk about these topics, or we're a household that you don't do that till you get married. And I was like, well, if nothing else, still have conversations about it. Talk about your values and why they matter to you. Your child's going to make their decisions they're going to make, but the more that you are educating them, just even having a sense of what values are and what it is to make choices and what consequences are, but also acknowledging this feels good and that's why we do it. And there could be potential consequences that you might not be old enough to be able to mentally and physically and emotionally handle.
Right.
There's just, I use the word nuance so much, but there is so much around this. And I feel like most of our education, our sex education, all of our education around relationships is very black and white. And that's why then we get stuck, and then we're getting advice from somebody that's just their own shitty advice.
Completely.
From their own unique personality.
Right.
Versus this broad realization that we're all wired differently. We have different experiences.
And
we
different
have different
needs and wants.
Yeah. And then how do we identify them and articulate them in responsible ways and honor that in someone else?
Okay. So as a parent, I have a son, but obviously raising a daughter is very different. And we can talk about both. But at what age do you start having that conversation, and what is the context of that first conversation?
Well, so I'm going to give you an age, and it'll probably freak you out like it does most people, but it's not what you think.
Okay.
We often say start around age 3 or 4.
Okay.
But what you're starting with is
birds and bees.
No, yeah. You're like, so
okay.
Let's get into the anatomy. No. I mean, yes, anatomy, but actually calling it the right names, and just proper names, and normalizing that. Actually is something we like to do. Like, this is a vagina, this is your vulva, that's a penis, and just normalizing that these are just normal parts of the body, that there's nothing to be ashamed of. So that actually, that does start at that age also. But also starting with consent and awareness around their body.
Right.
Because I think that's one of the biggest things. Like, I know when I was being, growing up in society in the 70s and 80s, it was normal that, like, if your Aunt Sally came for your birthday and gave you a gift, and that you go and give her a hug and kiss and you thank her. But like, maybe Aunt Sally's kind of weird and you don't want to. We're not taught to pay attention to those inner signs that we're getting. And And then we're taught to override it, and that we don't have kind of that bodily autonomy.
Right.
Somebody wants to hug and give us a kiss, they get to hug and give us a kiss.
Yeah, they get that.
And I think when we learn that from a young age, that you can give a hug if you want, you can give a kiss if you want, but you can give a wave, you can give a fist bump. And I know there's teachers that teach that in elementary school. There's parents that do it. They never tell their kids, like, you have to give me a hug.
Yeah.
It's up to you what you want to do.
We try to do that. I mean, it's hard because I want to smother Sunny all the time. Like I was away for 5 days and I came home last night, saw him first thing in the morning, and I'm like, want to kiss him and smother him. And he's like, off. And I want to respect his personal space completely. Like I really do, but it's just so hard. But I do understand, like, I don't want him to feel that discomfort by any means.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if we're learning at a young age that we don't get bodily autonomy, it doesn't even occur to us that others should either.
Completely.
And if this is normalized, then of course, and it's normalized as they're growing up, then, you know, they get to become teenagers and they're getting into sexual situations. Of course, they're not going to assume they could ever touch someone else, or that they could ever assume what someone else wants or how they want to be touched or not.
Right.
That is, it's not rocket science, but we are not taught that.
No,
we're really not.
We're not. But it's like it's interesting because there are certain things that you can teach, but based on the person, their wants and needs are different. So it's really all about communication and talking with the partner and who you're engaging with this and figuring out what you guys both like. And
knowing we have a right to do that. Because I still think so many young women are not taught that they're allowed to have boundaries, or they're allowed to have a right to their own needs, and that they could say no to someone else. You could still be kind and compassionate in how you say no, but that, you know, putting up the boundaries is saying yes to yourself. Yeah. And that you have a right to do that. That's still, I know a lot of young women struggle with that still.
Right.
I know some older women that
still struggle with it. I know. Yeah. So 3, you're starting to talk a little bit about it, and then they're starting to get autonomy over their body. And then then around
age 8, here's the thing, you know, sometimes people talk about, did you have the sex talk? And it's not like a box you check. You know, it's constantly evolving. And that's why you start at that young age. You're also normalizing that we talk about these things, no shame, that they can come to you when they have questions or they hear. I remember I was like, I don't know, I was in middle school or something, and neighborhood kids were talking about gonads. And I was like, what's a gonad? I went to my mom, I'm like, what's a gonad? And she's like, oh, okay. It's, you know, external genital, you know. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that means either, but okay.
In one ear, out the other. Yeah.
But right, there was safety in going to talk about it. So around 8th grade in particular, not 8th grade, 8 years old, right? You want to be talking about body changes.
Okay.
And I think that's super important so that they are not teasing others. If it's a boy, that he's not teasing girls who are growing breasts, or that somebody gets their period. And for girls knowing, hey, all of this is, you know, it's not uncommon for girls to get their period by age 9. Which sounds so young.
I know.
It breaks my heart.
I know. Yeah. It's something that I think about often. It's like, what are we putting in our
how
bodies?
Are we not so not ready for that to be coming into a womanly body?
No, your mind has not matched your body by any
not
means.
At all. So, yeah. And I think, again, there's so much normalizing of this. And I say to any parents, if you feel like you are bringing your own hangups to the table, and like so many are, because we learned them and experienced them ourselves and from society and past relationships and our parents, do your own work first and do journaling work. Sit and be like, what are my judgments? What are my hangups? Am I carrying shame? And come to terms with them. Talk to your friends about it. Talk to your partner about it. So that you can normalize for you talking about these things and getting it out there and shining a bright light on it. Because otherwise, so many parents then unwittingly, if they got hurt when they were younger, all they want to do is 100% protect their kids. Right. But they're not giving their kids the skills they need to be out there and make their own decisions. Right. So really do your own work around it, your own personal growth work around it and reflection. And then, and at age 8, also talk about friendships and talk about what it is to feel rejected, what it is to want to belong, what it is to be a good friend. Yeah. All of these things around relationships. Use television shows that you're watching and streaming shows to use it and be like, oh, what'd you learn from that? What'd you think about how they handled that? How might they have handled that differently? Or have you seen this with your friend group? And just then evolving as they're, you know, by age 11, 12, you might be asking, do you know what pornography is? Has anybody seen it? Have you seen it? And again, to be talking about it and be like, yeah, that's out there. You might feel a lot if you end up seeing it. You're probably not ready for it and you can't unsee it.
Right.
And so these evolving age appropriate topics.
That makes sense.
But often younger than you think, but it does depend on your particular kid and their emotional maturity. But regardless of where they are, they probably are being exposed to stuff in school. So
completely.
At least give them some skills to know how to handle those situations and they come and talk to you about it.
Right. And to know that it's all normal. Whatever is happening to any person is just part of the aging process. But I think about Sonny becoming a little boy teenager and it scares me so much. Like, why do I have in my head, like, I don't even want to, I'm like, I can't even talk about him turning 13. Hey, just taking a little break from the pod here with my sister Paige. But I wanted to make you a cocktail because I know you've had a long day and you're ready for an Astral margarita.
Let's do it. I am obsessed with these margaritas.
Aren't they so delish?
They are so good. They're so refreshing.
And so easy to make.
Do you use, so the Blanco you use in mixed drinks?
So the Blanco you use in mixed drinks because it's like a little bit smoother and just mixes better.
Yeah, you want to make them both at the same time?
Yeah. Want to help me?
Yeah.
You do that one. Lately, though, like, I feel like I've been pouring myself a drink and watching Love Island. I feel like you're not watching it, are you?
So Ben and I were talking about this actually this morning
There's one for you.
Which Love Island to invest in. I just feel like it's all everyone in the Dear Media office talks about, and I am not in the know at the moment.
And you feel like you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. I feel that way too. I feel like whenever Love Island comes on, it's just like all over everywhere on Instagram, and I want to know who the people are that they're talking about. And so of course I see USA's on and I'm like, okay, great. Let's start USA. And then 3 days later, I see UK is launching at the same time. And I am just like, from a marketing perspective, can you tell me why Love Island would have UK and USA come on at the same time when it's such a commitment? It's a new episode every single day. So I asked
really
my
good
Instagram
question.
followers as well. I was like, what am I supposed to do here? And everyone's like, you have to commit to both. I'm like, what kind of life? Like,
yeah, who has those hours in the day?
It's an episode every day.
Cheers.
So cheers. Thank you.
No, I
Mistral.
need to. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, so good.
So good.
So refreshing. It's like you can taste the tequila, but it's not overpowering.
Not at all. It's
very
so
smooth.
light.
It's very light.
It's
This is
delicious.
It is. This is the kind of tequila I prefer. Like, it's really actually, the Blanco is perfect for mixed drinks, like any kind of mixer. It's just like goes perfectly. You can also have a little garnish if you want.
Ooh.
I know.
I don't always love a garnish. I feel like
No?
it's something that our mother sort of stayed away from
I know.
as children growing up. Ooh,
But no, you just
give
throw
me
it
a
in.
garnish.
See? Don't just do things because mom, just like how mom told me to never wear yellow.
You look great in yellow.
Thank you. I'm on episode 12 of Love Island USA, so I'm like pretty into it and it's starting to get good. I think you should start with UK. I think for you guys as newbies to Love Island, it's just like better. The accents are better. The people are funnier.
Okay.
What else are you watching?
Okay, what are we watching? We just finished watching Your Friends and Neighbors.
Oh, I want to watch
that.
that.
Oh, it's so good.
It is.
It's so
I really
good.
want to watch it. Will Timmy like it?
Yes.
Okay.
We just finished Top Chef.
Oh, I haven't watched Top Chef in so long.
Still watching.
It's like us watching Survivor.
We are watching Below Deck.
Always a
new
classic.
season.
It's like it doesn't even matter if it's new or old. It's always good.
We just started The Better Sister, which is Jessica Biel.
Oh,
who
interesting.
is the most stunning, beautiful human being of all time.
She's
like,
so gorgeous.
she's so pretty.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth Banks.
Love her.
And Ben said Top Chef.
And Top Chef.
Yeah.
Those are good. That's a good rotation. Very different from mine. I'm like, Real Housewives of Miami just came back on, but you're not a fan of that. Jade and I love Miami.
I've never watched that franchise.
Miami's so good. Like Miami's the best one, I think.
Better than Salt Lake?
Yeah, I'm like over Salt Lake because I think I'm kind of over Salt Lake.
Oh, I love them.
You do?
Yeah, I just think that it's just like, it was a gift to the casting director.
Yeah,
like,
all the
how
people
could you have ever known what was coming your way? Like, these women bring it and like just continue
to bring it. Yeah.
Like, it is
I
wild.
need to finish, I didn't finish the last season. Maybe I need to finish it and see how it goes. Are you going to watch Beverly Hills with Rachel Zoe?
Yeah, of course.
I feel like that's pretty great.
I'm excited for her comeback.
Me too. Like, I haven't heard anybody that's been like, oh no, that's a weird idea. Like, that's going to be so good.
It makes total sense. And it's a really good casting.
Yeah. Like, I wonder if Dorit and Rachel Zoe are going to be like friends or frenemies.
Oh, and yeah.
You know? Like,
what
are
do
they
you
going
think?
to vibe?
Let's vote.
I don't know. I think Dorit... I think they're going to vibe. Housemarque summer is here. Time to stock up. Go to astraltequila.com. That's ASTRALTEQUILA to find a straw near you. Please drink responsibly. All right, now back to the episode. So back to the conversation about intimacy with your partner, just so we can close the loop on that. Someone that's feeling like they figured out, maybe they know what they want.
Yes.
They know what they need to talk to their partner about. How do they broach the subject? What are some like tips to start a conversation where someone's actually listening to you?
Yeah. So one of the things is I often, say, oh, hey, can I have a few minutes of your time? There's just something I want to bring up, for a couple of minutes. So first of all, make it a very short amount of time.
Okay.
And stick to that, because I often find folks, if they feel like they're going to get sucked into some heavy, uncomfortable conversation that could go on forever, they won't like it. So you're like, hey, can I just have like 5 minutes of your time? I have something that's been on my mind. I want to bring it up. Is this a good time?
So just a casual thing.
Casual.
Don't make it like I have something to talk to you about.
Right, because then the other person will panic.
It's like,
or maybe get
oh God.
defensive.
I always do that to Timmy. I'm always like,
we need to talk.
I'm like, I have bad news. And he's like, oh God.
I know. And then you're getting all anxious inside.
Yeah, it's not fair.
Yeah. So ask for just a small amount of time and then say, hey, sometimes people talk about that, like the gratitude sandwich type of thing, and start and end with positives.
Yeah.
But truly, if you are going to bring up something that you already think is sensitive to your partner, it is helpful to say, like, I know we haven't been having sex as much as we used to, but I really like the sex that we have. And when we have it, it's really important to connect with you in that way. And I think it's helpful to say, I always tell people, I was like, use me as your excuse. You'd be like, I was reading a blog. I was listening to a podcast. I was reading a book. Because we're consuming stuff all the time.
Completely.
Because I think it can be hard for our partners if they feel like we were out researching stuff. Like,
right.
I'm not happy in my marriage. What can I do?
If the thought came from us, it's totally different than if the thought came from somewhere else.
Yeah, you're like, I was listening to this thing and it was super.
Yeah, like my friend was talking about this and it got me thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so because you don't want to lie, but you also don't want to get their defenses up. And you don't want them to feel like, that they're being attacked in some way, or that you're like really unhappy with them in some way. So, and then bring up, you'd be like, oh, I heard about this thing called polyamory or, whatever it is, the topic you want to bring up. And I didn't know how common that was. And I'm not sure what I think about it, but I'm kind of curious. What do you think about it? So you're just trying to open a conversation. You're not trying to fix anything. You're not trying to convince them of anything. You're just trying to create a crack and an opening, and just to be planting that seed and getting it started. And then, talk about it for a few minutes. Truly be mindful of your time, though, because that's one of the things, like, we get sucked into these things and it keeps going on, and then you're going in circles and somebody gets defensive but
so true with fights in general.
Yes.
You're so right about being mindful of your time, because they can go on and on and on, and then you've just completely lost the plot. And like you said, then you get hungry and you're exhausted and you're saying things you don't mean.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're the person, because there's often one person who really likes to talk about things and wants to talk about everything. And the other person who's like, I need a little break. I need a little time. I get, they get flooded with emotions and they need space. Give that person space, because they won't want to get into this conversation again if they feel like it's just going to go on and it's going to be, and they don't have the bandwidth for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're going to feel trapped.
Yeah.
So truly being and that's hard. If you're that person that really wants to talk everything out in the moment, just, know you're like, we can come back to this. We can come back to this in 2 days, and we're going to. I'm a big fan of couples doing weekly check-ins and monthly check-ins about different topics. But like the weekly check-in is there something that you guys want to be working on and checking in regularly? Do you want to be having more quality time? Do you want to be working on your parenting? Do you want to be working on financial conversations and not brushing that under the rug? Do you want to be working on like your love languages and feeling your love tanks filled? There's so many different things, in choosing one, and then each week having a 15-minute check-in about it. Be like, hey, how you feeling about this? Do we feel like we're on the same page? Are you feeling connected? How's our teamwork? And again, like, you're not fixing anything in that moment, but it's always in progress.
Completely.
And it's not getting brushed under the rug.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, because I was going to ask for parents who I know a lot around my age, or this like millennial generation, that feels like there's just no time for sex and feels like they need to schedule sex, that this is such a good way, these check-ins are such a good way of like going around having to like schedule it and then taking the fun out of it. It's like casually dropping in the conversation so that no one feels attacked, but that you're like slowly working on things, right?
When you're building comfort with discomfort, because we avoid the topics that we're uncomfortable with, or we don't have the skills. And so in some way, we've got some, and I'm pointing to my chest and my heart, we've got some often constriction around, and we want to avoid them. So if every week for 15 minutes, we are choosing to lean into that discomfort, to get out of our comfort zones a little bit, over time, you're building comfort with that discomfort. And you're building trust that you can talk about these hard topics. And you can do it as a team.
Right.
So
what would you say about scheduling sex?
I know. I was curious, because I was like, I want to make sure I get back to that topic.
Yes, please.
I'm a big fan of it, but I truly... Well, so multiple directions we can go with it. But the first is, I really look at it as a scheduling intimacy time, like big picture, like this is time for you guys to connect your mind, your emotions, physically, sexually, ideally, but it doesn't have to be like, but what is it in today's over-scheduled, over-technology world that we are not present with each other? What is it to create once a week for 45 minutes, a block of time where your technology is out of the room. You're not going to be interrupted. No interruption with kids, and ideally no pets, because people's pets their dogs really seem to interfere with their sex lives.
We just got a dog, and I'm like, man, now it's like we have all this time with Sunny not here, but now Penny's here. I don't want to scar Penny.
No, because people are like, the dog watches us. So I'm like, well, put the dog outside the room.
Oh,
like, well, the dog scratches at the door. Then I was
God.
like, okay, you need to figure out something about that, because like dogs get on the bed, they lick the feet. Like I was like, you do not want
the dog around.
You don't want the dog.
That would
mapped into your brain around your sex. Yeah,
I could not concentrate.
So I'm a big fan of scheduling and being very intentional about the time that is really meant to be connection, like sacred connection time. And then ideally, especially if you're the lower desire person, and it's almost impossible in long-term relationships to not have a higher desire and a lower desire person. That's just where we end up, and there's nothing wrong with that. But particularly if you're the lower desire person, it can be really helpful to know you're going to have some connection, you're going to have some quality time, you're going to have some skin-to-skin contact. There's not going to be interruptions, so that you can get out of your head and present in your body, and then ideally then open to some sexual sensations.
Completely.
So I'm a big fan of that. There's some people who anything that feels like that it's in the category of scheduling sex, then it feels like pressure and expectation, and that shuts them down. And I get that. So I would say if that's you, try to shift it as an opportunity to prepare yourself. Completely. And that would be like, okay, what do I need to feel that my head is clear this evening? Like, what do I need to get out of the way? Or how do I need to connect with my partner? What can I ask for from them so that I feel loved and nurtured in a way that's meaningful to me leading into this? What do I need to set up for childcare? And also you can use things like there's so many great audio erotic apps out there now where you can listen to sexy stories.
We've had them as a sponsor on the podcast
so
before.
Good.
Yeah,
I talk about this
so
all
we've
the time.
never done that, and I'm so curious about people. Like, I'm sure there's data on all of this, but like, how many couples kind of my age like use porn and audiobooks and all that stuff? Because I mean, we're getting intimate here, but I've never once done that.
Yeah.
And also like masturbation has not ever been something for me that's been like a want or need either.
Interesting.
I know. Which
do
is
you feel like did you learn that those things were wrong, or do you feel like you have a moral judgment of them?
I definitely do. Like at the beginning of my relationship with Timmy, we wouldn't talk about it, and I would know that it was like a natural thing that he would do, but it made it feel icky to me. Like I didn't like the idea of that, and I feel like a lot of women feel that way. A little bit, like he would rather do that. Can you walk me through that mentality? Because I feel like a lot of women feel that way.
Yeah, and I would say masturbation and porn often get put together because they often are together.
Yeah, completely.
But I do think they should be seen as separate things, either masturbating with porn or just masturbating without it.
Yeah.
Because pornography is its own because of the images and the perfection and how and that women like to be choked. And not that some women don't, but that should not be assumed. And there can be more sort of violence and aggression towards women. And that's a whole nother thing. Let alone like the level of how visually stimulating it is.
Completely.
And that you can keep moving on to somebody hotter or somebody with bigger breasts or smaller breasts or bigger body or a different color. Like it's insane. And like the real human being in front of you that's there day to day cannot change how they look like that. So there's a lot that can be problematic in that way. But masturbation in and of itself, I mean, I think because it is normalized for young men in a way it's still not for women, it can be foreign to us to be like, well, why do they need that? Why did they do that? And I think for so many men growing up, it is something they do for stress reduction. It is something they do because they might have wet dreams otherwise.
Right.
So like they're
it just feels like an assumed thing that happens to boys that they just start doing
and that does tend to be part of puberty for boys at that level. And because the thing is, they will have the wet jeans and the ejaculation
if they don't
often anyway. Right. So there is something about the systems, things are coming through no matter what.
Yeah, but my mom definitely never talked about masturbating to me.
No, we didn't talk about it
Never talked about that with me. It's so interesting.
So I think, back to your question here, I do think it's important for us, if our partner's doing it and it's not, the question is, are they turning towards that instead of turning towards us?
Right.
When we want that connection with them. That's the piece to look at. Like if they have a much higher sex drive than us, you're like, okay, great.
Go do it. Yeah, that's more, I've never had an issue with our sex life. So it was never, never materialized into an actual issue. But I think it just took me maturing and understanding that this was a natural part of him being a man, that it's just a different thing that he gets to do that I could do too if I wanted to,
Do you want
to? Sometimes, honestly, like not really. Like I also wanted to talk to you because I'm on escitalopram, which is generic for Lexapro. It's an antidepressant.
Got it.
And I'm getting older too. I mean, I'm not old by any means, but I'm 40, and I do feel like my sex drive is less, like especially on the antidepressants. So I wonder, I'm sure a lot of women have talked to you about this as well.
Yeah. So antidepressants, anti-anxiety, they can impact desire, arousal, and ability to orgasm, so that it can like slow that process, or it can folks can have trouble getting over the edge. So all of those different components. Desire is that yearning and that wanting. Arousal is blood flow to the genitals, vaginal lubrication, and then the ability to have an orgasm, which is just a bunch of contractions.
Yeah, so, mine feels like the desire. Okay, like I feel like once we do have sex, it's wonderful and there's no issue. But it's just
getting
the desire.
there. Yeah, and that's really common in and of itself in any long-term relationship for women, let alone if they have gone through pregnancy and birth and have little kids in the house.
Completely.
So, and let alone if they're working outside the house. All of these things are not like, our lives are not designed in a way to help feed our desire. So one of the big pieces of recommendation that I give to particularly women that are lower desire in that way is to not because often we think that there's desire. This, like, we learn this, like, arousal pattern that you're supposed to have desire, and then you go touch yourself or you seek somebody out, and then you get aroused and you're doing that, and then it leads to orgasm or some kind of heightened pleasure. But for so many women in long-term relationships, if they waited for desire to kick in, nothing would ever happen.
Right.
So, it can be really helpful to flip-flop desire and arousal and start with arousal, which is where starting with the audio erotic apps can be helpful. Like grabbing, if you're in a hot tub, grab a little waterproof vibrator in the shower and like use it a little bit to get the juices flowing a little bit, to get your body warmed up. And I think so often for women, it feels like such a long continuum to get out of our heads and present in our bodies in the first place. And then once we're in our bodies, feel open to receiving sexual touch, and that it feels good instead of feeling like off-putting or a violation or just like wrong and totally out of place.
Completely.
And for the high desire person, they're already well down this continuum, and like, the breeze hits in the right way and they're like, oh yeah, I can have sex. Oh yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
So we're just, we're all wired differently in that way, and there's nothing wrong or abnormal with it, but how do we identify where we are on that continuum, and then how, as lower desire folks, how can we prime our own pumps?
Yes, completely.
And then for the higher desire person, what are they doing, to be pushing our brakes unwittingly, and how can they do it and lessen up on that and help push our accelerator?
Right. And I think for us too, at this age, like being comfortable with our bodies as well after having babies is a big thing.
And just to be aging women in society, which we all are day to day.
Completely. And like your husband knowing you as one thing or meeting you as one thing, and then your body changing, like that's a huge thing. The confidence going into it. Like, what would you say to someone that's struggling with that?
I mean, first of all, no, you are not alone. Like, we are a product of our society, and we were taught. So many girls are taught from a young age that one of their main worth and value in this world is their appearance to others. And then as they start becoming teenagers and young adults, then it's in their sexiness to men. And that is taking agency from us. That means it is up to everyone else out there to judge if we're worthy or not. Completely. And that is we will never win. We will never win that battle, and we're in ever-aging bodies, and that means we're continually giving our power away to others. And I don't mean that in a judgmental way, because that's what we were indoctrinated to believe about ourselves. So realizing it is so at our core, like our self-worth can so often be at our core of what our weight is and how we look to others and what our aging body is like and how it's changed through pregnancy and birth and breastfeeding, etc. So first of all, is realizing like we've inherited a whole lot of bullshit from our society that sets us up to always view our bodies as the enemy. And one of the things that makes me sad, like think about being an 80-year-old and looking, this makes me want to cry saying this, and looking back, you'd be like, why did I not appreciate my body? Like, it was my vehicle to enjoy this world and to give birth and have sex and connect with others and laugh and have joy and be of service and travel and swim in the ocean and feel the sand under my feet. All of this amazing enjoyment that our bodies give us. And I was mostly focused on one thing, judging myself that it didn't look good enough.
Completely. In the spirit of summer, let's talk about family vacations. Pleasing everyone on a trip can be a tall order for any parent. We're about to leave next week, and I just found out my nieces are coming. And so I'm thinking about this a lot myself. Like, how do you find a destination that will make everyone happy? If you've been listening lately, you know I've got Aruba on the brain. I'm dying to go. I still can't believe I haven't been yet. I keep finding myself getting lost in like full-on tropical daydreams, a frozen pina colada, the ocean breeze, and just like some Aruba sunshine. It sounds amazing. Of course, Aruba has the jaw-dropping beaches you'd expect. Eagle Beach was just named TripAdvisor's best beach of 2025, and that's kind of crazy considering how many picture-perfect beaches there are around the world. But Aruba is more than just beautiful views. What really has drawn me in and makes me want to go so much is the warmth of the people and that deep sense of connection you feel when you're there. There's something so special about an island that gives back what you put into it. Aruba really lives by the saying, when you love Aruba, it loves you back. And you better believe when I finally go, I'll be bringing the boys with me. So if you're in the mood for white sand beaches, healing blue waters, stunning cacti forests, and the sunniest skies in the Caribbean, Aruba needs to be at the top of your list. Plan your next trip at aruba.com. That's aruba.com. Okay, guys, I am not one to gatekeep, so I have to tell you about my latest favorite. It's small, colorful, and helps me get everything I want. I know we're all very familiar with Venmo, but did you know that it can be for so much more than just paying back your friends? Venmo has a debit card that connects directly to your Venmo balance so you can Venmo everything. Groceries, dinner, drinks out, gym memberships, the clothes on your back, pretty much everything and anything you need. It's insanely convenient because you can just spend your money that's already in your Venmo balance. So getting paid back for dinner can turn into paying for some new summer shoes or the afternoon boba that I've been craving. Here's really the main selling point for me. The card actually Venmos you back. Similar to a credit card, but not actually a credit card. When you pay with your Venmo debit card, you can earn up to 15% cash back at some of your favorite places. Plus, the card comes in all different colors, so you can match it to your personal aesthetic. I always love those personal touches. Venmo everything with the Venmo debit card. Visit venmo.me/debit to learn more and sign up today. Venmo purchase restrictions apply. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A., pursuant to license by MasterCard International Incorporated. Card may be used everywhere MasterCard is accepted. Visit venmo.me/debit to learn more and sign up today. With summer officially here, I've been in full refresh mode, but instead of impulse buying pieces I'll wear once for one reason and then forget about, I've really been leaning into timeless staples that I can wear on repeat. That's exactly why I'm loving Quince. Their clothes are timeless, they feel luxurious, they look elevated, and the quality is way beyond what you'd expect for the price. So I just picked up a few 100% European linen pieces, light, breathable tops starting at just $30. And then I got this washable silk midi dress that I plan to live in once we get to Vermont. So perfect for summer nights. Everything at Quince costs about half of what you pay from similar brands. They work directly with top-tier artisans and skip the middlemen, which means you get the quality without the huge markup. And everything is made in safe, ethical factories with sustainable practices, which makes me feel even better wearing them. Quince is a brand that really gets it. It's elegant, effortless, and made to last. So if you're feeling the urge to update your summer wardrobe, get those essentials that you'll wear forever, do it in the smart way with Quince. Give your summer closet an upgrade with Quince. Go to quince.com/withwhit for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/withwhit to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/withwhit. I often think about lately, I often will be like, what would my 80-year-old self tell me to do? Because I don't want to look back and have any regrets on. And that goes with anything. Like, what would my 80-year-old self want me to experience in this moment, you know?
And does your 80-year-old self talk to you?
Yeah, completely. I mean, I feel like she always
say?
usually points me in the right direction, you know? Like, because I feel like she wants me to get the most out of life.
Yes.
Like, she wants to look back and feel like that she had a really full, amazing life. And I think that that's something that comes with perspective and time, but I hope that, you know, everyone can eventually.
I think it's
get
giving
there.
ourselves grace.
Giving ourselves
really
grace.
Is.
Yeah.
And truly creating mantras, like catching ourselves and reframing things. I tell them, you know, if I sit down with a group of women and I ask them to write 20 things they don't like about themselves or their body, they're like, oh yeah, but
so how easy.
Right. But now write 20 things that you do appreciate. Your strength, it can be how it looks in certain ways, but the strength that it birthed body, you know, that it birthed babies, like that you were strong enough to get out of bed this morning. Like, let's really get down to this fundamental level of what our body provides for us. Mm-hmm. And then using that list, like having it easily accessible on your phone or in your notes. And that when you notice yourself going down a negative spiral, go to that list and then feel it. You really want to feel that like pride and appreciation in your heart. Like that's how we make that shift of new patterns. But we've got to work on it and continually be mindful about making a new choice till we start to rewire our brains.
Right. Do you have any personal mantras that you tell yourself on a daily basis?
I mean, I've liked ones. If I feel like, I mean, this was more a while ago, but like I've liked the ones because I use this with my clients too of like, because you know, when I had initially learned about mantras or affirmations, they were always like, I am abundant. I am wealthy. I am beautiful. I am
that
successful.
cafe gratitude place.
I
you'd
do
be like,
that. I actually,
can I please get the I am beautiful bowl?
I know. I am abundant on the side.
Yeah, exactly. I love it, but also feels so weird at the same time.
Inappropriate. Yeah.
But yeah, I know. Sometimes they can feel like a little hokey pokey,
and
whatever.
They're very black and white. And what I noticed in my brain, and then when I was working with my clients around this, that our brains are like, bullshit, bullshit. And then like, it's not going to work because we're not actually believing it. So I like shifting to, I'm on the journey of becoming a sexually expressed woman, or I'm on the journey of rediscovering my sexuality, or I'm on the journey of abundance.
The journey
and
of.
like, and there's no little voice that could be like bullshit because you're like, oh, okay, yeah, you're on a journey.
No, it's so true because I will do that too. I try to tell myself like, when I notice that I'm judging myself for something, I'll say the opposite. Like instead of I'm like, oh my God, you're so disorganized. I'll be like, you are so organized. But then I'm like,
bullshit.
You are so not fucking organized. like that's so
Clearly
obvious.
Not true.
Yeah. But if I then say I'm on the journey to productivity and organization, that feels so much different.
I'm on the path.
Yeah, I'm on the path
to learn how to do this.
Yes.
If nothing else.
Yes. Completely. So how, just getting into some like general questions of just like feeling off track or personal purpose, like right now it feels like there's a lot of people feeling stuck or a little bit burned out. And I know that that's the climate and it's been like that for years now, but what would you say to someone who wants to move through that, but needs a kickstart?
Yeah. I mean, in general, my first question to folks around that, and it's very specific to our world today, is how are you spending your time? Because I feel like folks are feeling stuck because they're escaping. Like they're going to the easy escapes, which is so much of what technology is and streaming things and video games. Like there's so much like, and that is going to keep you stuck because it's going to keep you in these dopamine loops and that is not big picture fulfilling for you. It's not, you're not getting success. You're not getting fulfillment. You're not achieving things. You're not connecting with others.
Right.
You're not making progress in anywhere. Those are all things that actually make us feel good. Little stuff. You're not moving. You're not exercising. You're not trying a sport. You're not learning something new. Like all of those things are core to what make us feel good. And there's hard, like there's challenges to that, or there's vulnerability in friendships and relationships or in dating.
Right.
But all of that is what fills us at a deep level. So I really look at, how are you spending your time? And I'm willing to bet it's, and I don't mean this as a judgment. Like we are products of our society today. And it really does come down to a mindfulness of realizing that it may seem like you're not making choices, but the choices are being made for you. So how can you start being intentional and notice like that? You know, I have like a mindfulness bell that'll go off on my phone, you know, when it's not silenced, like every few hours. And I know where it started being most helpful would be like, I'm kind of a night owl and I like working at nighttime sometimes, but it would go off at like 11:30 at night. And I'd be like looking down, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Go to bed. Like go to bed. Like, so we need those little interventions to pause. And, you know, like with my mindfulness bell, I will pause. If I'm not driving, I'll close my eyes, take a few deep breaths, and I like literally check in with like, how am I feeling right now? And like, what choices am I making right now?
Yeah.
And so often we're defaulting into something.
It's so true.
So those type of interventions can be helpful.
Right. Like, how am I spending my time? I think about that a lot because I don't really love this city that much. And I complain about it all the time, like wanting to move. But it's just not a reality for me right now with taking care of my mom. And I have a lot of family here and everything. But when I think about LA, that I need to think about, how am I spending my time here? Like, am I even out and about exploring and connecting with people and
making the most of
making
it?
the most of it? And I think about it and I'm like, I'm not. I'm like working a lot from home, coming in here, then heading home, picking up Sunny, and then watching TV at night. Like, I'm not
Right.
I'm not really living like experiencing the city. So that feels to me like anywhere I went, like that's just an excuse. Like not liking the city almost feels like an excuse.
And it's a great insight to have. And I feel like there are times that we are in a job that we don't love. We're in a city, we're in circumstances that we're like, gosh, I don't love this. And it is the right thing for me right now, or I need this job because of the money and the skills I'm going to get, or I need to put in more time, or right, you said, my work is here, my mom's here, like there's reasons. So instead of then just always feeling in resentment, to be like, okay, then let me intentionally choose this for right now.
Right.
This is the right thing for right now. And then how do I make the best of it? How do I appreciate what there is? And I feel like, there's a lot of intentionality around that. And you can acknowledge, this isn't perfect. And this is the right choice to make right now. Let me actively make that choice. And then how do I feed myself and fuel myself within this choice?
During it, right. And know that it doesn't also have to be forever.
Exactly. Yeah. And I really like, okay, I'm going to put a 2-year time limit on this and I'm just going to throw myself into it. And then I'm going to reassess and we're going to reevaluate. Where are we now?
Right.
And then we can make different choices perhaps.
Using this. Okay. One thing that you said was that relationships thrive on generous listening. And I feel like I can assume what this is, but I want you to explain to me what that means, because listening is just the most important thing.
Yeah. And I think a couple of things. One, I think most people think they're good listeners. And second, I feel like when people have ever been trained in listening, it's often in maybe sort of what's called active listening. But what I see is that when I see people try to be really intentional with their listening, they're like in their heads and they're not in their hearts. And so to me, generous listening is one, listening with the intent truly to understand what the other person's saying, not to be smart, not to judge, not to interrupt, not to fix them. And really be in that state of like, I really want to hear, and I want to hear more details than I normally would listen to, because I really want to understand what they're saying and their experience, or why they like this or not, or what their emotions are. So first of all, that, intention with it. And the second, like the real generous part of it, is listening with an open heart, with listening with grace. Can you imagine if for a day, everybody on social media, generous listened with like extending grace to the other people? And like with warmth in their heart, like this is another human being trying to do the best that they can.
Completely.
Like, and that doesn't mean people aren't assholes and there aren't people that you should defend yourself from. But in general, we're talking about the people closest to us, or our partners, our kids, our family members, even our colleagues, what it is to come with them. You want to understand, you want to have an open heart. And so that is like dropping from your head into your heart. And like having warmth. And a few months ago, I was on a Zoom call and they were breaking us into breakout rooms. And we had done breakout rooms already. And then we were going back to them. And they're like, this time we want you to show up to your Zoom breakout rooms with warmth. It felt so different.
That's so crazy.
I know. And you can feel it like digitally through the screen that everybody they were leaning in a little bit more. They had like their faces were a little more open, like a little more of a smile, like a little more engagement versus I think we're often just kind of in our own protected boxes or we're in our own heads.
Yeah, but I also think sometimes my energy is so based off someone else's energy as well.
Right. But we can be the initiators of it. If we bring more warmth, we're giving others permission to do that as well. And it's not like that shouldn't always be on one person to have to do that. But like, what a nice thing that we all, 4 of us came to this breakout room with greater warmth and you could feel the difference. So that idea of bringing that to your listening, and that leads into step 3 then, which is like acknowledging the other person's emotions. Because I think sometimes I know I've shared like really vulnerable things in small groups or with, past boyfriends. And if they're in their head and not like really present with me, they feel detached. And then I don't want to share vulnerable things. Like I feel stupid. I feel foolish that I have a cracked open heart and that I'm not getting anything back from them. And it feels unsafe to me. So
And
acknowledge their emotions, like reflect it back in your face. If they're laughing, like really feel into it. And like, this is that really empathy that it's like you're in their shoes, like you're feeling this experience with them. It's not yours. It might not totally make sense, but feel into the emotions.
Yeah. I feel like this is probably the hardest for married couples who either have certain resentments or angers or things
frankly, all steps of it are really hard.
Yeah, that
you
are
feel like you know what they're gonna say.
Yeah, you're like, I know you, like I know what you mean.
Right.
I know what you're trying to say.
Right.
And sometimes I will tell my husband, like, when I'm coming to him with something, I'll be like, pretend like we just met and you don't know me, and like give me advice based on that,
Yeah.
But I think the listening part is such a good reminder that just as important as obviously speaking our truth and speaking up when we feel something isn't right is really trying to like wholeheartedly listen. And like you said, not just be a good listener. Like there's so much more to
There's
it
this
than
like
that.
real body
Yeah, that you can
sense.
feel when someone is really listening to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I really think, let alone in today's world, that is one of the biggest gifts we can give to another human, anyone in our lives that we are crossing paths with, to truly be present with them in this way. And then the final step of it is, once you've given them space to talk and share, is ask genuine curiosity questions that you don't know the answer to, like open-ended things like, oh my gosh, was that tough for you? Or what was that like? Or, what did you do after that? Or how did others around you, react to that? Or, did you feel stuck? Or, whatever, like truly like trying to understand the experience of it. And I think that's really hard for people also, because we often ask questions that bring it back to us.
Oh, completely.
Or that are about something that we know already, and then we feel like we can contribute. But what is it to really try to stand in this other person's shoes to better understand what they've just shared with you?
Completely.
That's amazing. And the truly, people are fascinating.
Yeah.
Like we can literally, everyone can teach us something.
I would
literally
rather
every
listen.
person.
Yeah. I don't like to talk. I'm like, I want to go into a social situation and learn about everyone and have everyone
Which is
share
awesome.
with me. I don't really want to like in this podcast I will, because I feel like I have to and I need to bring it back to myself. But like it's always been more natural for me to like let people share,
which is lovely.
Yes.
Still, but are you
sometimes
is there something you're holding back your own vulnerability, or do you not believe your stories are as important, or is there something in this? Put you on the spot.
Like, I know. No, yeah. Sometimes I think that I may not have like anything that interesting to add. Sometimes I am just like a little bit socially awkward, and I just want the person to like take over the conversation. Like, my best friends are mostly like high, like big energy, like more domineering.
And so it's
people.
sort of safe to you.
So it's safe. Okay. Yeah, it's safe to me.
Yeah.
I'm like the middle child of 5 kids, and I like the action around
so
me.
much
I don't
sense.
want to be the action,
Okay.
which is funny because then I'm the one that got on TV and like now have a podcast. Yeah,
and that's good for you. But that's out of your comfort zone.
Well, that's what what I'm trying to do. This
That's awesome.
is like it's constantly challenging me, but I feel like it is really flexing the social muscle for me too when I'm out and about. So
yeah.
Oh, you're so amazing. You should have a podcast.
I have. I've had various ones in the past and videos and different ones, and I'm in the process of 1 or 2 new ideas right now.
Okay. Well, where can people find more of you and all your talks and your work?
Yeah, my main hub for everything is drjensden.com. So it's DrJennsDen. Any version of Dr. Jen's Den sex, like you'll find me online. But that's my hub for all of my social media stuff. My book, From Madness to Mindfulness, Reinventing Sex for Women, which is like everything we've been talking about here.
Completely.
Various podcasts, all sorts of stuff, all sorts of media interviews and stuff. That's my main hub. If folks do like my stuff, please follow me like on Instagram and all. Join the conversation, because to me, I feel like we're so divisive in our society and we're very reactive. And at the core of all my work is mindfulness and compassion. If that speaks to you, please join these conversations. Please spread these messages. We need more of these.
That's what we're all about here, is that we can all have different opinions, but the key is communicating about them instead of
and being responsible,
shutting each other out, and being responsible while communicating with them too, completely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on today.
This was lovely. You're such a good interviewer. You're so present, and you are such a good, generous listener. Like, it's lovely. No, truly, lovely.
I'm working on it. I've gotten so much better, but I want to be a generous listener. Like, if I was sitting here chatting with you normally without mics, like I would probably be more calm and not thinking in my head what's the next thing to talk about.
No,
but it's
in light of all of that, like, excellent.
Thank you.
Like, I could feel the difference. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yay. Okay, good. Oh my gosh.